We're incredibly fortunate to have Dane Wicker, Deputy Director of DBED, here to moderate tonight's panel. Dane brings a deep understanding of Hawaii's economic landscape, from shaping fiscal policy at the state capital to sustainable industries across agriculture, retail, and entrepreneurship. At DBED, he leads initiatives that strengthen local businesses and foster long-term economic resilience, all of which are directly impacted by how we manage food safety across the supply chain. His unique perspective on both policy and industry make him the perfect person to guide this important conversation about protecting public health, supporting local producers, and building consumer trust in Hawaii's food system. We are honored to have with us tonight Dane Wicker.
Mahalo, Denise. Quick story. I can attest to the stringent food safety policies as I shop at the Eva Lake Costco. So your policies extend outside into your food court. And having a small son, we play sports on the weekend. I have to be efficient when I do my Costco run. So get there, go to the food court, order a pizza. I got 30 minutes to get in and out to get back to that pizza, or they're going to throw it away. Look at the server and I say, I'm going to be in there 20 minutes in and out. Gives me a look like challenge accepted. I'm only going to get 10 items. 19 items later, I come out, hand the receipt over. Sir, you're at 33 minutes, we had to toss it. You have to wait another 15 minutes. I'm like, 3 minutes over. Little do you know, I'm taking this pizza to a baseball game. It's going to sit on a table for 2 hours and 45 minutes before the first player even gets to pull a slice. So kudos to you and your team for being on top of it and keeping us safe. It is a privilege to be here, as Denise mentioned, 9 years, 29th episode, and to be able to moderate a very important panel, as food safety has been discussed for decades, and now we're seeing it implemented, and farmers and value-added producers have to abide and learn as they go. So I want to begin by acknowledging just how foundational food safety is, not just for our health, but for the strength of Hawaii, our entire food system, as well as our economy. When we talk about growing more of our food locally, reducing our reliance on imports, and supporting our farmers and food entrepreneurs, we must also talk about the systems that ensure the food we produce is safe, trusted, and market ready. The truth is, the modern food supply chain is incredibly complex, and the risks don't stop at the farm gate. From packaging and transportation to handling and retail, food safety touches every step. That's why federal laws like the Food Safety Modernization Act matter, and why tools like hazard analysis and critical control points and third-party certifications, they're not just red tape, they're investments in market access, consumer trust, and ultimately the sustainability of our local food economy. So at DBED, our kuleana is to build resilient industries and ensure our economy reflects the values of Hawaii: community, trust, and sustainability. That means supporting infrastructure, education, and regulatory alignment so that local producers can meet the highest safety standards and still remain competitive. So tonight's conversation is about peeling back these layers, helping us all better understand the systems that keep our food safe, the challenges our local producers face, and how we can work together, from the policymakers to the chefs, from distributors to consumers, to build a stronger, safer, and more reliant food future. So let's get on with the fun panel. Test. So we'll start. I'm going to welcome our panelists. I'm going to ask that you take 30 seconds to introduce yourselves and give a brief overview of what you do. So Lisa, let's begin with you.
Thank you, Dane. My name is Lisa Roden. I am the Executive Director for North Shore EVP. We developed the first group GAP program in Hawaii. We have 40 producers, a little over 40 producers now that are in that program that we work with to maintain or obtain food safety certification, and they spread across every island. So we are working to grow the Group GAP program here in Hawaii and make this accessible to every farmer.
Thank you, Lisa. John, next, let's hear a little bit about yourself.
So my name is John Miyabuchi. I'm the region president for Armstrong Produce, Fresh Point, Hawaii. Just a little bit of quick background. Armstrong Produce was started more than 40 years ago by a local family, the Turia family. And Mark, one of the founder's sons, recently retired, and then they pulled me over from Maui to come and join the company. And one of the things that we talked about some of the other panelists have talked about here is the imports versus local. And it's super important for us as a company. We're the largest produce distributor in the state of Hawaii, and we take that responsibility very seriously. We feed the people of Hawaii. The produce we bring in goes on our family's plates, your plates, our neighbors, our friends. So it's an important role that we play, and we're trying to bring down. When I first started the company, we were at about 70% imports, 30% local. And the goal has been to bring that number down to at least 50-50. And so I'm happy to say right now we're at 60-40. So we're getting there. So,
Mahalo, John. Next, I want to welcome Vivian.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Vivian Lee. I'm the Quality Assurance Manager at HPC Foods. Some of you guys may have seen our Terra brand products in the retail markets, Foodland, Times. We have the Terra brand poi. We do sprouts, mung bean sprouts, soy sprouts, clover sprouts, radish, and broccoli sprouts. And I oversee the food safety and quality management systems for our 3 processing facilities and our storage and distribution warehouse.
Mahalo, Vivian. Wrapping up our panelists this evening, joining us is Mary.
Hi, aloha. My name is Mary Cummins. My husband Rob and I purchased Pacific Produce, better known as Waipoli Hydroponic Greens, in March of 2024. And the farm has produced lettuce for Hawaii for over 25 years. It was started in 1997. And we are very proud and happy to have been able to purchase it. The owners were retiring. And we hope to continue to help John reach his numbers and grow for Hawaii.
Mahalo, Mary. So we'll begin with our questions, and our first question is for you, Lisa. What are some common mistakes that delay a farm's progress toward food safety certification?
You know, in our experience, there are really 3 things that kind of stick out as to delaying progress towards certification for any operation. The first is records. It's kind of the dirty word. Most farmers, when you say you have to keep records, they're like, don't want to do that. And so not keeping records, though, really does cause some issues. Records are the one way that you can prove that all of the food safety practices that you say you're doing that are written in your farm food safety plan are actually occurring. And when an audit happens, the auditor comes to the farm, they're there just for a couple hours. So they really need that backup documentation to show, yes, this is our normal practice. We have all this paperwork to say that this is what we do. The second thing that is a really big issue is water quality in particular. Microbially clean water is essential for post-harvest tasks, any kind of cleaning, hand washing that you're going to be doing. So we really need to make sure that we have a farmer that we're working with who is willing to take steps to mitigate that issue. They might need to bring clean water to the farm, or we might need to treat water if it's not clean and available. And then I think the third thing is communication. We really do a heavy lift in the first year of working with a producer to help them on the road to certification. And it's really everything from assessing the risk to writing a food safety plan with them, gathering documents. When the communication falls off, it's really, really hard to kind of progress and get things going to the point of getting them certified within that year. And that's always our goal, is a year, we get certified, and then we move on. So that's what I would say. Those 3 things are key.
Thank you. So you're out there, boots on the ground, out in the field with the farmers, connecting those dots. And for John, as a distributor, what is a main thing you look for a local supplier, especially when it comes to food safety certification for an entity like Armstrong?
So for ourselves, we get a lot of calls from farmers, and right now we currently work with about 180 local farms in some form or fashion. And there's my team. Hey guys. But it's a challenge. And then we get a lot of calls like from backyard farmers. We call them backyard farmers because they have smaller quantities, and they'll have like a case of mango to sell, and we're like, sounds great, but we can't really use that. So, but for the farmers that do call, we talk to them about food safety requirements first and foremost, and we also call Lisa and her team because we've formed a great partnership with North Shore EVP, because they're able to help the farmers get to that food safety certification level that we need. The trend is throughout the industry, retail, hotels, restaurants, everyone's moving towards that FSMA, that Food Safety Modernization Act, to those regulations, and it's going to become, standard, and we're all going to have to apply to those same regulations. And so, having them get at least GAP certified, GMP certified, and then hopefully they can get up to the level of GFSI. It's a challenge. There's a lot of work, as Lisa mentioned, a lot of paperwork, a lot of time. There's some money involved, but some stats are like, in the U.S., there's like 48 million people a year get some sort of foodborne illness. It's crazy. And there's about 150,000 of that 48 million that end up in the hospital, and about 3,000 of those pass away. So that's every year. That's crazy. So the more regulation we can put in terms of making sure the food is safe, we have traceability, it's important. And then so we try to work with the farmers that way, getting them partnered with North Shore VP, and then we start working with them from there. And we also, as our parent company is Cisco, we're in a specialty division within Cisco. We operate independently, but we're also able to cover and help with supplemental insurance for the farmers that don't have enough. So that way we also partner with local farmers to help get them up to speed.
Thank you, John. Oh, that was a great answer. Farm facility. So Vivian, what is good food safety culture when it comes to farm or facility?
Yeah, I think food safety usually falls onto the food safety team or food safety department, but it requires commitment between all employees within a company. So the staff that directly handles the food, they're touching the food, they're processing it, management who enforces and demonstrates the procedures and policies that we have in place within the company, and then also senior management who can provide the necessary resources to achieve food safety goals. So like training, new equipment, maybe staffing is an issue. And a good food safety culture within a facility will have open communication and collaboration between all employees and all departments, and an understanding of what the food safety policies are within the company and how what their responsibility is in achieving that. And then also, a good food safety culture can be seen through decrease in nonconformances, issues reported, improvement in your audit scores, and then also just responding to nonconformances in a serious manner with a mindset of continuous improvement. And it's also important to assess the food safety culture within your facility by conducting anonymous food safety culture surveys. So you get an idea of what areas need to be improved on. Is it the training? Is it lack of procedures? Is it lack of staffing, et cetera? And that way you can create any corrective action or preventive action plans.
Thank you, Vivian. I'm going to be curious to know how this alignment works between facilities and farmers. But for Mary, with your farm practices, how do you approach the good practices for food safety, and how do you train your workers to keep them responsible and accountable for their actions?
Yeah, thank you. I love how you've used the word culture. I feel that's important. We feel that our employees have a good food safety culture, and it can't be, like you said, specified to specific employees. It needs to be an entire operations culture to have high quality, good food safety. And then you talked about keeping records, and we have a really good staff. Rob and I are busy. You mentioned busy farm. And we've been very fortunate to have a great team, and we have specific individuals that are in charge of keeping those specific records. We have daily harvest logs, we have traceback records, the general food safety logs, and then Costco, it's a great combination and a great accountability, because we, 4 days a week, we send our product over to Oahu for testing for the bacterias. And so we have a very strong culture.
Thank you, Mary. Lisa, back to you. How can farmers balance costs, time, and effort to improve food safety, and what small changes offer the biggest return on compliance?
I think that balancing cost, time, really comes down to efficiency. We strive to find efficient solutions for the farmers that we work with and suggest those to any farmers that call us and need help. It's really important when there's food safety compliance measures that need to be met to make that as streamlined as possible and not increase costs if possible. A good example of that is record keeping. The dirty word, nobody likes to do it. When we first started Group Gap, we realized very quickly that that was the single most common point of failure for farms in our program. They just weren't keeping the records, and they were paper records. So we transitioned to digital. Digital records, much simpler, streamlined, customized. We can put drop downs in there, and it changed the game. We went from about a 30% success rate to almost 90% farmers getting certified through using the digital record keeping system. And we were able to negotiate a really sweet deal with the platform that provides it, so it doesn't cost our farmers anything to use it. That's just one example. Other examples, I think, are staying on top of training, new things that are coming out, new technologies, and really making sure that there's reach. Our team, we take new trainings all the time. We have a really great community of practice that we engage with across the country. Even though Hawaii is very special, the challenges that our farmers face here are not that different from a lot of other small rural farmers across the country. So we look for solutions outside of our space because we want to bring those here. I think the biggest thing that we can do as far as a change to increase our ROI for food safety is really changing our mindset. For a long time, we looked at food safety and compliance as something that was too costly, too hard, too much work, and therefore it didn't happen. And what we really need to do is take that and turn it around and say, where are the solutions that we can find? Where can we streamline things and make it accessible? Because having that certification really empowers every farmer.
Thank you, Lisa. In your background and what you do, you work with the farmers and getting them GAP trained, GAP certified. But there are various, I guess, certifications out there or programs for food safety, right? And so I'm going to shift to John here with your distribution. Do most retailers and food service clients require food safety certification? And then speaking to that, what is the difference in types of certification if you're going to go food hubs or a distributor like your company?
So good question. So to answer the question, yes, national retailers, large hotel chains, large national restaurant chains, they all require food safety certification. And most of them, the big ones, require GFSI. So you have to get to that top level of certification just to get your products in there. But the food hub system was set up by the state. It's a great system. It's great because a lot of our farms are rural farms. And so this provides them the opportunity to have their wares focused on, be able to distribute them. It helps them get to that next level where they can get enough volume going, and they can then come to see someone like ourselves. And local is so important because there's three big reasons for that. Number one is food security. At best in Hawaii, we have 2 weeks worth of food at any given moment. So if we have a Puerto Rico style event where a hurricane hits and we have no food for a while, that's going to be critical. And then we don't need someone to come here and throw paper towels at us, right? Just go see Robin at Costco, see. So now that we're friends, Robin, don't forget, yeah. But food security is one. Number two, it helping local farmers and buying from local farmers helps the local economy very much. And then three is freshness. When I first got it with Armstrong, I didn't realize when you go to the market and you have imported, say, romaine lettuce, by the time it gets here and you can buy it, that bugger is 3 weeks old. And that thing's still green, right? So it's kind of shocking, whereas if we go local and we buy from Waipouli, we can get here in a few days after harvest. And that thing goes right to the shelf, right to your hands, your homes, within a few days of harvest. So shelf life is better and freshness. So it's much better for everyone who's eating vegetables and produce. So those are the three big reasons. And we that's why our drive is to support local farms and try and work with the farmers to the food hubs, as well as helping them get up to a bigger scope of work where they can have wider distribution and better certification.
That is a challenge at DBED, what we're seeing, as not only are we trying to support the ecosystem for our small to medium farmers, but also in solving the farm-to-school challenge of getting local produce onto the school meals. And part of that is, actually a major part of that is food safety. In fact, I see Dean Okimoto here in the back, and he and I were chatting last night, and he's been talking about food safety for over a decade. It's coming. We got to get ready. We got to be prepared. We're still behind the curve in providing the key infrastructure and facilities to help even some of the smaller farmers with food safety infrastructure. So I'd open this question up to all of you, but I'll start with Vivian. How can farms avoid the most common violations or audit issues? Any guidance that can be put out there to guide these farmers?
Yeah, I think there are a few things you can do. Just preparing for the actual audit, conducting an internal audit at your farm or facility, and then also just staying up to date to all the regulations. As we know, regulations are always being updated, new requirements are being added, and with the evolving industry, there's always something new coming up. So with the regulations and the audit programs or audit checklists that you have, you can utilize it to prepare for your upcoming inspection. Go through each clause, read each question, identify or determine what program or procedure that you currently have in place that will meet these requirements. And if not, can you revise a current program or procedure to meet these requirements? And then also just having a audit prep list, listing all the items that you need to check on. Maybe you need to create a new program. You need to review your records. And with this audit prep list, you can identify any action steps to help complete the task, resources that you might need. Do we need new equipment? Do we need training? And then also a timeline, determining, is this something that I can implement within 2 weeks? Is this something I can implement within 7 months? And that way you can create kind of an action plan to help prepare you for the audit and meet the requirements. And then also utilizing that same regulations or audit program, audit checklist to conduct an internal audit at your facility or farm. So just kind of going through the document and pretend like it's an actual audit, reading through each question, looking through all your programs, reviewing your procedures to make sure they are accurate and up to date, looking through all your records. Are we monitoring at the frequency we say we're monitoring? Are we documenting our corrective actions when there's deviations? And then it's also good to follow through by doing a corrective action meeting with your team, discussing what the nonconformances are, and identifying what the root cause is, creating corrective and preventive action plans. And then also with staying up to date, the simplest thing you can do is subscribing to regulatory agencies like FDA, USDA, subscribe to their email notifications so you can get updates when regulations change, when there's new rules coming, any outbreaks. And then there's also the Produce Safety Alliance. You can subscribe to their newsletters. They provide, same thing like the FDA, updates to regulations. And they also offer trainings, webinars, resources for the produce community. So the Produce Safety Alliance is in collaboration with Cornell University, FDA, and USDA to help produce growers meet the FSMA requirements. And recently they had a webinar reviewing the updates to the produce safety rules, specifically the pre-harvest agriculture water testing.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. With technology and things like artificial intelligence, on the distribution side or in-house in the facilities, is the process becoming more efficient? Is it helping? Are we there yet, at least in the state of Hawaii, in adopting that technology for traceability or food safety processes with your companies? Are you guys there yet on that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're constantly evolving. I know the FSMA regulations for traceability were pushed back a little bit to 28, I think, but it's an everyday, as was mentioned before, it's cultural, it's every day. It's something we have to work on constantly. There has to be constant checks and balances, constant reviews, constant check and verifications. So it's a challenge, but any technology that can help would be great,
Mary, what role does technology and automation play in hydroponics? And how do you maintain strong food safety practices within this tech space?
So currently, technology in agriculture in general is pretty exciting right now. There's a lot coming out, and hydroponics lends itself well to technology and automation. Hydroponics is not necessarily a new practice, but automating it and bringing in new technologies is exciting. Just a simple thing we do is we have this is where I'd usually have my husband explain it. He's better at the tech side, but we have pumps that automatically regulate our pH and nutrition, and just have basically, if something is low, it automatically puts in the necessary nutrients. We don't have to really monitor that. We have to check it every day to make sure, if it rains, it may change the levels of something, but it just automatically keeps everything at an optimal level for the best growth. That's one small example.
Thank you. I don't know if that was a timer for me or no. I do want to give time for Q&A for the audience. If we want to go to that right now. I see. Okay. So there'll be a mic. Raise your hand. We have staff helpers. We can I got a mic up here in front, please.
Oh, okay. I'm Liana. I work with the city. My question pertains to the kids and having, local produce provided. I know Japan does really well with that, and so I'm wondering how we're moving towards that, along with, just like sustainability for the state as well. Not just for the state, but also for the nation.
Any of our panelists want to take on that? I do have a response with the state, and then feel free to chime in. There are a couple initiatives moving right now within the state. We have First Lady with her Feed the Keiki, and then in the legislature they have the Nourish Hawai, Nourish the Children, I believe is that campaign. In fact, there was an Eat, Think, Drink a few episodes ago that spoke about that. The challenge we're seeing with the Farm to School is, one, the menu development, which the legislature provided funding to the Department of Education this year. My understanding is that we're working with the University of Hawaii to develop menus based off of the commodities that we've grown here. The legislature approved the position for Agribusiness Development Corporation attached to DBED to do a commodity coordination. So we're looking at what DOE is ordering and aligning it to, okay, is that being produced here? If not, can we produce it here? Then we need to work with the DOE as well as the Culinary Institute of the Pacific to develop that menu space. So this is not going to be something that happens overnight, but we're getting the resources and the conversation is there. There is a key part about this too, and we've had this discussion with DOE and Lisa and actually the Hawaii Farm Bureau. The small farmers, which some of those are ADC's tenants, they don't have these food safety facilities. So another key facility the state has to consider if it's not available from a food hub is aggregate facilities. The ADC did get monies for the next supplemental year to purchase a property in Central Oahu to start looking at an aggregate facility. But there has to be that connection. And the question I brought up earlier, there's all these different food safety program certifications. So DOE has to give some guidance on specific what food safety process or procedures they need at the farm level. And then at the aggregation level to procure from the smaller farmers straight to DOE. So we're starting to understand this ecosystem and where the drop-off points are. And it's going to need heavy investment by the state, but we do have legislative support. And if we can build that template here on Oahu, then it'll expand to the neighbor island. There are 7 regional kitchens slated by DOE with 2 on Oahu, 120,000 meals a day with 100,000 meals just on Oahu that have to be created. But this also spills over into child nutrition. And ultimately, we start to define food security and resiliency because of the infrastructure and facilities we're putting in as a state. So as John mentioned, if we get a disaster like Puerto Rico, we won't have to rely on importing MREs. We can start to have the facilities and continue to contract with the farmers to prepare our own meals in a natural disaster. But we're getting there. Sorry, we got a question in the back? Oh, Mr. Okimoto.
Okay. John, this is not for you, okay?
Thank you, Dean.
John was like, last night, he tells me, don't ask me any questions because you asked too hard questions. So, but, you know, my question is, you know, in the food for the schools, okay? Everything I've seen that comes out about, you know, buying more local food for the schools and stuff, okay? There is nothing telling the farmers about getting food safety certification. And it's a missing component because you got farmers that are gonna go and they don't know this. And I don't understand why the state avoids telling the farmers what they need to do. So Dane, I guess, I mean, this question is, you know, more for you than anybody else, but, you know, and you didn't tell me not to ask you a question. That's why last night. Okay, so.
I didn't get that memo, John.
But
Think ahead.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's for the small farmers. I mean, you know, everybody wants to take care of the kids, and you know, we actually supply Nala Farms a lot of for the schools lettuce. The lettuce is for the schools, so. You know, but we're food safety certified, GFSI, so, you know, we qualify. But a lot of farmers don't know that. And I just am bothered by the fact that the state doesn't actually say anything about it.
That's a really good point. And one of the benefits in working with a department like Business and Economic Development, we have attached agencies. And Agribusiness Development Corporation came over to us a couple years ago, and it fits well. It's a commercial entity, and DBED's a commercial function. And with the board of directors, and to Dean's point, these are the discussions that the board of directors can have to bring that to light, as it's a public forum. And so, thank you. We have a meeting on Thursday, and I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring this up because it ties back into the aggregate facility. And we need to have more of these comprehensive discussions, frank discussions on the severity of what is the issues and what is our role in government to address it, or at least bring that to discussion. So I'll be bringing that up. Question for John?
No questions. Thanks, Dean.
I see pointing. We have a question. Oh, Mike.
Thank you. So I was curious, I do food safety consulting for some mainland companies, and we're trying to really work with a lot of the small farms. And one of the things that we're noticing is that with the changes in the government, a lot of the PSA trainings are no longer being available. And that is an obstacle to becoming compliant with the regulations. Because if I'm a small farmer and I haven't gone through the PSA training, I'm not compliant. And so curious as to what the impact is here in Hawaii and what's being done about that.
I would suggest that that you bring that up with the extension agents here, because they are able to provide that training. So you don't have to go to a mainland source for it. They would be able to do it here locally.
Thank you. Do you have any other? Good. Well, with that, I want to thank you all for your thoughtful responses here on the panel, as well as the audience in engaging. I'm sure it looks like our time is up, so heartfelt thank you to our esteemed panelists and our keynote tonight, Robin, for generously sharing her insights, as well as our panelists. We'll all be around throughout the evening, so please feel free to reach out, engage us, talk story, and thank you, Denise. Mahalo.
Thank you, Dane. And a big mahalo to our incredible panelists and our keynote speaker again. Thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause. So before we dive into the delicious part of the evening, the eating and drinking, I want to take a moment to recognize our incredible, talented culinary chefs back there. We have, please join me Okay, wait, sorry, I'm sorry. Each of our featured chefs have created dishes that highlight at least one locally grown ingredient sourced from Hawaii farms whose product is available at Costco. So please join me in welcoming or in celebrating Jeremy Shigekane of Prince Waikiki, Colin Sato from Mugen at Espacio, the Jewel of Waikiki, Sydney Wilcox, personal chef artist, and Jason Kyoto from Threadfin Bistro. So each of their, on each of their menus, there's a little asterisk and that'll tell you which item is from Costco. We're truly lucky to have such passionate, creative, community-driven chefs sharing their talents with us tonight. And a big mahalo, before we close, I want to say a big mahalo again to Central Pacific Bank and all of our supporting sponsors. A very special mahalo to Irish Shimabukuro of Calais Eggs, who has again provided you all with a dozen Calais eggs. When you got a card when you came in tonight, if you present that at their Waikimilo location between June 28th and July 12th, you'll get your eggs. And also a special thanks to the Ulupono Initiative for sponsoring the special prices on our tickets for those in the ag and food industries. If you're one of those ag professionals, each Eat, Think, Drink, we have about 25 tickets that are available at a special price. So you can, she's supposed to have turned it, but it's supposed to have, you have a promo code and you can call us at, or email us at hawaiiagfoundation.org. And then lastly, I want to talk about our 28 episodes of Eat, Think, Drink. They're now available on YouTube and on our website. You just click on Watch Now. I don't know what happened to my clicker. She's over there. Tonight, we're also offering our Kiki in the Kitchen with Mika the Sous Chef cookbook for $10. That's 50% off, and it's the perfect gift for your little chef. My Mika, the real dog, is out there trying to promote her book, so please support her. And on behalf of Hawaii Agricultural Foundation, mahalo for joining us tonight. We are a 501c nonprofit charitable organization, and we depend on the contributions, so we appreciate, again, your support. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to open the bar now, and we invite you to relax and enjoy and talk to each other and get to know one another. So thank you very much.